It's funny, these unwritten contracts we sign with our abuser, with our toxic, narcissistic partner. We don't even know what we're getting our hands into. As the relationship progresses, you find yourself not recognizing who you are anymore, not recognizing your reasoning for even being with this person anymore. And for those that have been married for a long time, you have lost that vision a very long time ago. You have signed off your soul to these parasitic, malignant, conniving predators, and you didn't even know it. I start to reflect on the relationships of my past, and particularly the one with the psychopath narcissist. And although that relationship wasn't that long, I like how much of myself did I give up voluntarily? How much of myself, how much of people in my life, close friends, close allies, relationships that I had worked on for years that actually mattered, that actually brought value into my life. Family. Family is like blood, right? How many of those relationships did I voluntarily give up for the sake of staying with the narcissist, for the sake of not tarnishing what was already tarnished? We sign these unwritten contracts because that's what they are. If they were actually in your face, you wouldn't sign them. If you were to read the fine print, you wouldn't sign them. You wouldn't be in that situation. But how many of you gave up your close friends? How many of you allowed the narcissist to separate you from your family? How many of you guys allowed the narcissist to convince you, to brainwash you into thinking that your friends were bad influences, that your parents were not supportive, that your parents were selfish, that you needed to spend less time with those people and spend more time with them, right? Because a narcissist is so selfish and they want everything to be about them. Even if you give them 23 hours of your day, they want 24. And if you give them 24, then they're going to demand better quality. Out of the 24 hours you're already giving them, you're not even sleeping. It's not good quality. No matter what you do is not going to be enough. And you are signing these unwritten contracts with them because you stay in the relationship. I stayed in the relationship longer than I should have. How many of you guys have accepted unacceptable behavior, abusive behavior, borderline domestic abusive behavior for the hope that the narcissist was going to love bomb you again in the future the way they did at the beginning of the relationship? For the hope that maybe if you put up with this, they will start acting the way they used to act. They're going to start treating you the way they used to treat you when you first met them. When they had you on a pedestal, when they were into you, when they were calling and texting you all the time, when they were going above and beyond to make plans, to surprise you, to make you happy, to build, well, not to build because that was too early, but they gave you the promise of building a future with you. How much have you guys given up for the hope, for the illusion that you're going to see maybe a glimpse of that again? Because let me tell you, I gave up a lot. I gave up a lot in such a short amount of time, hoping that things were going to go back. And I remember, like, when they cut off sex and intimacy, And I remember when that started, I noticed that right away. I feel bad for people that don't notice when things are changing. I guess maybe you haven't been in enough life altering situations where you become aware of these things. But I was coming into this relationship, as much as I was taken for a fool, there was a lot that I had a lot of experience coming in already. And I would see these things, and I would call these things out, and I'll point my finger at them. And she couldn't stand it. And it's my theory why my relationship to the psychopath didn't last as long as other relationships that I hear about. I work with a lot of survivors on my coaching program. A lot of survivors have been in these relationships for years. And I'm not talking about those that have been married. I'm talking about those that have been dating the narcissist, and they've been cheated on, and they take them back, and they get cheated on again, and they take them back. They don't hear from them for a few years. They come back, and they take them back. Lucky are the ones that were only in those toxic, abusive relationships for a few months, and even then, it's detrimental to your psyche, to your health. Right? What it does to you, it changes you forever. But I digress. Just going back into my situation, I knew I was seeing things. I knew I wasn't crazy. I was like, hey, look, I don't know who you are anymore. When I met you, you were this way. These are the things that you liked. These were your passions. These were your dreams. This is how you used to treat me. I would see it in your eyes. You were so in love. You were so excited. You would look forward to so many things. You were always thinking about me. And now I look into your eyes and there's nothing in there. You're looking up into the sky during any intimate moment, whatever was left of that at the beginning, because it doesn't get cut off cold turkey. It starts to fizzle out. I mean, I remember the first time I noticed that she was just looking up. And she had this look in her eye, like she was so in love, but not with me. There was someone else in her head. And she was just completely distracted. And then her phone would ring, and she'd quickly drop everything she was doing to get on her phone, and she would get so excited. And then I would ask her who it was, and she would just brush me off. Nobody. And to think that I sat there with my stomach turning, right? Because that's what starts to happen. Your stomach starts to turn. Your radar start firing. You know something's wrong. Something's wrong. But if you come from a place, if you're a traditional person, it's like, if you made your vows, if you've made your commitment, if you're in a relationship, it's because, hey, you're in a relationship because you're not going to sleep with anybody else. You're in this together. You're in this for the long run. So it's like, hey, maybe it's me. I shouldn't be feeling these things. Like, why would my partner cheat on me? The whole purpose of getting into a relationship is not even so you don't have to worry about that anymore. You don't have to worry about that you're going to be alone, that there's no one out there that loves you. Now you have a partner. Now you guys can build something. Especially if you're trying to grow together, you're trying to build a family, or start a family, and then build upon that. So I would gaslight myself before I even knew what the word gaslighting meant, because that was not a popular term back then as it is now. I would gaslight myself. And when you do that, guys, when you go against your intuition, you're going to face consequences, okay, of the worst kind. You go against your intuition and get ready to suffer, because not only are you suffering by the abuse that you're facing, but now you're suffering because you're seeing something right before your eyes and you're telling yourself that it's something else. Talk about driving yourself crazy. It's bad enough the narcissist is spending most of their time gaslighting you as well, but now you're gaslighting yourself, right? And that's the biggest problem. That's that unwritten contract that you signed. You don't even know you signed the contract that said, I am going to look the other way when I see abuse. And even when I recognize abuse, I am going to put up with it for the hopes that the narcissist is going to return to that initial love bombing phase where they were all about me and they were excited and they were honest and loyal, yada, 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 yada. You're signing on these invisible dotted lines that you're not even going to believe your own thoughts. You're not going to believe what you see in front of you. You're not going to believe or trust your own intuition, your own intelligence. No, you're signing away not only trust in anybody else that's not the narcissist, but you're not even trusting yourself. And you're signing on that. You're agreeing to that. You agree because you stay. It's kind of like being in a job that's taking advantage of you, that's suddenly you're working 40 hours a week for a certain amount of salary, and now they're like, well, you know what? Because AI exists, now you have to produce 80 times more in the same amount of time for the same amount of pay. And you know what? Mr. Desperate over here, well, he's putting in 70 hours a week and he's not complaining. And if he can do it, then you can do it. And if you're not going to do it, well, there's the door, because I'm sure there's lots of desperate people that are looking for a job right now that will be happily to take your position. And you're like, whoa, well, I guess I might as well stay and just keep being abused. No, the minute you do that, you've sold out. The minute you do that, you have sold yourself. There goes your self-esteem. There goes your self-worth. Self-esteem will come later when you start actually noticing what you have done. But at the beginning, there goes your self-worth. You're selling yourself short. You're selling yourself short. When you stay with these abusive individuals, when you stay and you entertain them, and you think, hey, you know what? They've been gone for a few years, but now they're back and now they've changed. Let me give them another chance. You're basically rewarding toxic behavior. You're telling this person, hey, you know what? You've cheated on me. You've put me through hell, right? I've spent countless of hours in therapists and coaching and gym sessions and personal training and retreats, meditation retreats, and spiritual workshops, and you name it. Just to get myself at a place where I can believe in myself again, where my mind is not scattered, where anxiety doesn't rule my life, where fear no longer rules my life, where rumination is not what I do every waking hour, where I can get up in the morning and not feel like a freaking barrel of panic is being poured all over me. To finally get to that place and you start tasting joy again. And then this person just does back into your life and you just take them back and you're like, well, let's give it another shot. Let's give it another shot. What you're telling that individual is that no matter what they do to you, no matter how much time passes, you're a sucker, you're a doormat, and they can come back whenever they're ready. That's what you're doing. You're enabling this monster to continue their pattern of abusive behavior forever. That's what you're doing. So when if you really want to heal, if you really want to move forward and make changes, you have to pay attention to the decisions that you're making. If you keep making the same decisions that keep leading to the same results, you're stuck in a paradigm that's doomed to fail. No wonder you're stuck there. No wonder the same thing keeps happening to you. You progress a little bit, and then you get dragged right back in, and you feel stagnant. Nothing's getting better. Nothing's getting better. And if you finally turn your back on the narcissist and then you entertain another one, right? Because we have a way of attracting the same situation if we haven't learned our lesson. You're going to attract another one. You're going to see the same red flags. And if you haven't learned your lesson, if you haven't really made changes, If your self-worth has really not gone up, if you really do not have boundaries, guys, I'm sorry, but the same thing is going to happen to you again. That's the truth. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I wish I could tell you, hey, once you say bye-bye to the narcissist, then the next person you end up dating, that's gonna be Mr. or Mrs. Right. No, guys, that's not the world we live in. Modern society is modern society is broken. A lot of us already carry a lot of baggage and a lot of trauma and a lot of things, including myself. We've been through a lot. And when you bring someone into your life, that person is bringing their own stuff. Even if both of you are seeking something healthy and mature, you're not just going to trust someone even though they have a clean slate. You can't completely trust them. You're a little weary, right? And they're weary of you because they're bringing in their own baggage. As long as it's not abusive and manipulative, then you can work through it. That's the difference. You can have all the trauma in the world. You can have all the trauma in the world, but that doesn't mean that you have to be a monster. That doesn't mean that the person that you're choosing to be in a relationship with is your enemy. It's like, look, I'm bringing a lot. I went through this. What did you go through? You went through that. All right, cool. We're going to try to help each other grow because we both want the same things. Some days are going to be easier than others. Some fights are going to remind us of the past, and we're going to freak out, and we're going to think, oh no, that's it. We can't have a fight because once we have a fight, that means automatic blocking, ghosting, right? The relationship's over, abandonment, I'm going to be alone again. And then you react based on that fear. And it's like, no, the person that you're with now is not your psychopath narcissist ex. There's somebody new. And you have to be able to recognize that. If they are doing the same exact things, though, if they are living a double life and they're lying to you and they're still married and now you discover that there's another man or another woman in their life, if they're gaslighting you and you know the truth and they're telling you that what the evidence that you have in your hand is not that. If you're holding an apple and they're telling you it's a freaking orange, then yeah, you're being gaslit. Yeah, you got to run. But hopefully, if you've done the work, especially if you've worked with me, you're not going to go through that again. Because when that situation happens, if that test shows up, we're going to get through it. It's going to, hey, that looks familiar, right? Okay, do this, do that, say this, say that. What did they say? What did they do when you said that? And narcissists have patterns. And you'll be able to identify those patterns right away. And as long as you can be okay with letting those people go early in the dating process and trust is like, okay, this was a test, right? They told me they were single. We started hooking up, right? Everything's going great. And now they have a confession to make. And they're, hey, look, the truth is, that I'm still in the middle of a divorce and they don't want to sign the papers because of the kids or this and the other. That's it. That's it. They lied to you. And that's not a white lie. That's a huge lie. If you cannot come clean from the jump, that's it. Who's to say, what else are they going to lie about? If something that big was not important enough to come clean with, then there's no hope. You have to let them go. The problem is a lot of people that it's like, oh no, I finally met someone again. No, this can't be. No, I'm just gonna put up with it. I'm gonna help them. I'm gonna wait until the divorce is over. We're gonna make it through. No. Sorry guys, that's not how it works. If they're lying to you at the beginning, it's over. If they were cheating on their spouse with you, in the future, they're going to cheat on you with a new supply. Believe me. Everyone that going back to college, right? Going back to high school, okay? Anybody that I've ever heard, or including myself in situations, anybody that was cheating, anyone that I got with that had a boyfriend, ended up cheating on me later. And you know what? I deserve it. I should have known better. I thought it was cool when I was younger. But you know what? There's this thing called karma, whether you believe it or not. You go through some shit, right? You put someone through some shit, you're going to get put through it too, right? No one's coming out of this alive. So I believe the best way forward is just to be impeccable with your word, like the 4 agreements. Just be impeccable with your behavior. Just don't do things that you wouldn't want done to you if the circumstances were different. If you see the narcissist is lying to you from the beginning, I mean, you don't even know if they're a narcissist or not, but if they're already lying to you with something like that, it's like, would you want, you wouldn't do that, right? Because you wouldn't want that done to you. So they're doing that to you already. So what do you think? If you did that back to them, do you think they'd be okay with it? Probably not. Probably not, because they already showed you who they were. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. And before you go, be sure to check out this video if you would like some more information on how the psychopath is always watching you, even after you leave the relationship. Catch you guys in the next one.